good amount of people. So you want to introduce me, Ko, for the all good times? I don't know if you want to,
Yeah,
but
of course.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So we have this class. Oh, I don't know. Okay. We have this kind of AMA bar class like every residency, and Shivani and Colborn are leading all things and doing everything at Museum of Crypto Art, which is a new museum in the metaverse. They will be talking about it, but yeah, it's just a good time to kind of like introduce you to the museum. There's lots of bits and pieces that I think maybe are not like super kind of well shown or that a lot of people know about. And then there's kind of time for really like an open conversation with both of them. They've been in the space for a very long time, so really like a very yeah, open chat. Any questions, anything doesn't have to be strictly related to the museum, but can be around crypto art and other matters. But I will let you both introduce yourself. Shivani, do you want to start?
Yes, Matilda, it's very nice to meet you. You're doing an amazing job. I remember when this first started, and again, I think what Nicole you've brought together is really amazing because you are looking to tell the story of crypto art and do so with emerging artists so that people understand both where we're coming from and why moving forward it's really important that we focus on the people that matter and the art that really speaks to each of us here. So I'm Shivani. I run Museum of Crypto Art. I started in the NFT space in like July, August of 2020, just learning and working with Colborn. And over time, that grew. And ultimately, the museum today is a community of artists and curators and collectors. We have a focus on showcasing and exhibiting crypto art in virtual worlds. In addition to that, we are really trying to build like tools and technology so that people who would like to both experience like immersive kind of game-changing social and like artistic experiences with curated collections of art can do so. And the reason we're doing this is because if someone in this space, if any group of people are going to try and come together, do so meaningfully with the purpose of a a really like thought-provoking to the like gritty origins of why people started cryptocurrency itself, right? And why there was a group of people who realized there is a like financial system which could be without nation states. What are the principles there? How can we communicate that through art? So the mission of this museum is in the day-to-day, like talking and getting to know all of you and doing our best to create tools for you. And in the long term, it is really to be a cultural center for crypto culture. That's a very long-winded explanation, but the best one I could give around kind of 10,000-foot level. And I think Colburn can tell you about his journey as a collector to ultimately curator.
Yeah, happy to jump in. I bought my first piece of crypto art in February 2020. And have been a long-time cryptocurrency investor, and a lot of, I think, what was promised to me in, the initial 2017 ICO boom was that there was and is like replicated here, is that there is a global talent of whatever it is, ideas, creativity, expression, that blockchain can like begin to connect and allow like value to transfer and ideas to be shared, and creativity to be expressed. So I was just like blown away with the immediacy in which, I could find somebody's art all over the world, in which I could like reach them on Twitter, in which I could have a conversation about that art. And that really speaks to, the, I think, disintermediation of traditional systems that we've seen. I always say that, like, in the same way that, blockchain and cryptocurrency created an alternative financial system to the banking system and hedge funds and VCs and private equity firms, the crypto art space is creating that parallel art world system to the traditional art world. And in our eyes, I think it has a an ability to be more egalitarian. It has an ability to be more community focused. It has the ability to connect artists and collectors more deeply. Um, and we have kind of this ability to like support each other and grow and have like rapid learning in these like value aligned communities. So for me, that was always kind of the promise of crypto art, and it's the kind of like mandate of the museum to explore the corners of expression, to bring all sorts of creativity into like the middle of the museum, and to continue to pursue not what it means for one person to be a curator, but what it means for like all of us together to curate and have discussions around art.
I'll just give a, what people can do to be a part of the museum, kind of like overview. And the first is the collection of artwork. So there's two primary collections. The first is a permanent collection, which today acknowledges and highlights early crypto art. So anything pre-December 2020. And right now that's 200 artists, one work from each artist. And in the next couple of months, we're expanding this through donations from other collectors to include about 310 in total. And so this capsule is meant to just act as a historical place and a location that anyone who wants to understand what early crypto art is, they can find it. The second main collection of the museum is our community collection. So this is something that any of you can take part in as well. We have a decentralized application, app.museumofcryptoart.com, which was built by our Ethereum development team. And it's essentially a like curation platform. So it'll connect to your wallet address. You can activate your NFTs for free into the community collection. And today the community collection is like 6,000 plus. Colborn, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's 5,629 pieces.
5,600. Okay, there we go. 5,600. So this community collection is meant to be a worldwide aggregation of all the crypto art that people want to pull together. This collection will ultimately be the basis for a lot of the work we do moving forward because it represents effectively the most decentralized way for us to curate a museum because it is for free and anyone with a wallet address with a desire to activate it can do so. The second area that any of you could get involved in is definitely visiting our exhibits in virtual worlds. So we are in Somnium Space, Decentraland, kind of that's one of the main focuses we have as well with our rooms, which are effectively these interoperable 3D canvases where you can have a like piece of architecture as the canvas, slots in that architecture which would automatically populate a certain number of art pieces into the architecture, and then you would be able to import that room into a virtual world of your choice. so that is coming up. But as of today, we have done about 28 exhibits in total. These have included those in virtual worlds and in real life, across the world: Shanghai, New York, Boston, Miami, Prague, India. Sorry, 2 locations in China: India, Buenos Aires, and coming up this year, I think there will be one more in New York. But those are exhibits we've done, and I really encourage all of you to go check out our website where you can see the virtual world ones. Those ones will be like permanent and accessible forever. And I think the third and really potentially interesting place for all artists to get involved in is our forum. So the forum is ultimately going to be a like permanent place to discuss like your art, your ideas, and record your interactions with anyone in the community that decides to post their ideas. Ultimately, the words on this forum and the concepts will be fed into a virtual curator. And this virtual curator is a custom GPT-J model done by Karan 4D, a really talented artist. And he's effectively creating a like crypto art encyclopedia, active and reactive engine to the ideas of the community. So I just wanted to give an overview of all the places each of you could start to work with us or share your ideas. That's the goal of this, is that we like listen to you, understand what you would like to see happen in crypto art, and what kind of art you would like to be recorded. The community collection is on chain, which is going to be recorded forever, and I think the forum as well with the virtual curator will also become a really important cultural virtual being for the future. Is there anything I missed, Colby, in terms of ways to get involved?
No, I think, really the whole point is to give anybody an access point to kind of like their own self-sovereignty and ideas of expression, and then aggregating, these individual moments of expression to form this idea of a modern museum. And I think everything that we're doing is really a tool set to enable really people to just like express themselves more freely, to share their art, and to have a really like pretty simple free toolkit that enables
One
that.
thing that I could do is I can just share my screen quickly and take everyone through from the like website to the different places I've talked about. I think that would be good. Is that cool, Matilde, Nicole?
I think that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Done. Give me a moment. Hello. Oh, what happened? No. Discord. Okay, there we go. Sorry.
Is everything all right?
Oh, come on. This thing's so fucking annoying. This is sorry. No, I got a new laptop, and then in order to like Discord will not be able to record the contents of your screen until it is quit. Okay, I'm gonna have to quit and come back.
Okay.
Apologies.
Maybe Colby,
Yeah.
you can also talk about rooms as well, because I think that's also interesting. Well, later maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, rooms is effectively like the way we're trying, the museum is a foundation, right? So rooms was our mechanism to one, make the museum a sustainable long-term project, and also to, let's see, can we watch Shivani's stream? Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. I see it well.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so this is our like main website. Over here is the permanent collection. And
Yeah, do you want to talk about how it's just like one work from, well, I'll talk about it. The
you go
permanent
ahead,
collection, yeah, is one work from one artist who minted prior to December 2020. And that marker was kind of just like the big market moment where NFTs started to really move to the mainstream. So it was really meant to kind of just like aggregate and speak to the breadth and the depth of expression that was happening in the space.
Yeah.
And to kind of give everybody their place in history for being early.
This is one of my favorite pieces. um, can you see everything I'm clicking?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so this is permanent collection, and kind of in this museum section, you can see the exhibits we've done. This isn't updated with all of them, but I think, another interesting area actually to explore for everyone here is the library. And this library is something that has really key texts speaking about art. I think one of the most interesting ones is, this is our Medium page. One of the most interesting pieces is honestly this one, because I don't think most people realize that if you read this, he explains like everything very, very well. Assuming it's a he. But I encourage everyone to check out the library for the origins of not just NFTs but crypto itself. So, and I think next, let's go to the museum building. Do you want to talk about a Somnium Space, Colby, and
Sure. Yeah.
the version?
Somnium Space was started in 2017 on a GoFundMe by a very avid player of Second Life. So he took a lot of the lessons that he learned in that community and brought it into a world that he created. Um, it started in virtual reality and is a blockchain-based land system. But what really was impressive at the time in comparison to, I think, crypto voxels and Decentraland was the aesthetic. And the brilliant play with like lights and shadows, and an easy toolkit to begin to like develop and render architecture in this world. Um,
Oh, I
this
like this
is
background.
the online version of the museum. It was done by an incredible Brooklyn-based architect called Untitled XYZ, and it was meant to be an exploration of what it would mean for the fundamental symbol of a QR code in crypto to be rendered into a 3D environment. Um, and you get these very natural forms, the spiral staircase, kind of like this double helix structure through the middle. Uh, and this also like surreal aspect of art being like outside or not under a roof or suspended in the air. And yeah, just some wonderful early examples. I think it holds up to about like 50 pieces, and we will be doing kind of a new curation of it soon. But in here, yeah, you see some really foundational artwork and artists.
I think this section might be really fun. This is the most like.
Yeah, obviously the iconic CryptoPunk, a wonderful like Bitcoin propaganda artist. Lucio Paletti above. Oraveda did the STFU piece. You have the Satoshi Nakamoto from Trevor Jones, which is actually animated. Yeah, you can see it there when you click on it. And I think we really liked the way that Somnium Space pulled a lot of the information around who the artist was, the description, all fed through the OpenSea API. In that portrait corner in the top left is one of the very earliest super rare pieces from Pindar van Arman, who programs robots to paint. We have on the top right Julia K. Ponsford, who was the artist that we did our second solo show with. In the bottom right, you have Osinachi, who is Africa's leading crypto artist, who did all of his work in Microsoft Word. And here you have Sky Golpe, Italian artist. So even just like thinking about this, you have Pindar, who's in Texas. You have Julia, who's in the UK.
Go away.
Golpe in Italy. And Osinachi in Nigeria.
Alas. Does anyone see an X sign that I can't see? Dang. That's
You can't
super
click out.
annoying. Huh?
You can't click out of there.
No.
Sky Golpe must have hacked it.
Yes. It's stuck on his piece. We can just go upstairs. I think that would be cool. I like the backgrounds that they've brought in here. I think this is his new update, right?
Yeah.
Last time I was in Somnium.
Staircase on the web. You're doing an impressive job navigating.
But I do think seeing the museum in VR is like way cooler than seeing it in web. Just because something like this, like the scale and like when you're able to look down, like you feel like you are seeing digital art in the way that you just cannot see on a TV screen in the real world or on a laptop. And like scale is really important to recognizing like new media. I think with NFT as like an importable and like buildable, ownable object in a digital world. So some of that stuff in VR is way cooler. These are also really fun.
I think we're definitely like building and designing for a tech future that hasn't quite arrived.
This is a really cool piece.
We know kind of seems to be an inevitability. This was more of kind of like the rebellious corner. Yeah, the Gary Cartledge piece in the top left. That's actually an art gnome piece.
Yeah, has everyone met Jason Bailey yet? Nicole, have you guys done a lecture?
Yeah. That's the first one. Actually, a few of the artists have also, I think, done like one-to-ones with Jason as well. So
yeah, Jason's art is really incredible. He has not been making it or creating it or sharing it as much lately. I think that's a wonderful piece of crypto art right
this
there.
one's amazing. This one is a person I think is a favorite of ours.
Yeah, Reviser. When trash art was really starting to blow up, there was a huge critique among other artists that all of this art was ruining the scene. That piece was a commentary on it. That piece is the first piece that Max Osiris made after being let back onto Super Rare. before being almost, subsequently then kicked off again. You have Sparrow in the top left there, black box art.
Was Cloudy's work.
Yeah,
Luna.
Sparrow was key and critical to ensuring that 10% secondary sale royalties would be granted to artists across the marketplaces, and was really a foundational leader.
And I think with curation, we really try to think about diversity in the fullest sense. So not just, there's the identity of the artist, but also like financial diversity, like where are people coming from? What are the intentions behind the work? And, across the world, like what are we missing when it comes to thinking about crypto art as only like a Western pursuit? I think these things can be explored much more as we expand the permanent collection, but this is also a really incredible piece.
If you go back to that other section you were in before, Shivani.
The trash art section, or?
No, to the right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thotto. Yeah.
you have, Thato in South Africa, you have Luna in Los Angeles, you have Sparrow in the UK, and Cloudy in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So it's cool to just, kind of play with, just the different pockets of creativity.
This is also amazing artist, Ryan C. Slow.
And Ceslo is a deaf Brooklyn-based artist. Yeah, that plays with a lot of what it means to be deaf in such a like loud and vibrant city like New York.
Wee. Okay. And Somnium Space, unlike a lot of worlds, the aesthetics are just incredible because I think they prioritize like lighting, shadow, and oh wow, que paso. Am I back on the top? Oh, I'm in the water. Nice. Yeah, they really improved this. I wanted to try and go here.
Maybe now is a good opportunity, Shivani, to kind of like touch on the incubator program.
Yes. I am going to. I just wanted to show these ones actually. I think they look really cool next to each other.
You have a pack piece on the left.
This is Mr. Pack. Oh. And then
Fabio Sperianzi? Speziari? Fabiano Speziari?
Fabiano is. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's Speziari.
Okay.
Speziari.
Yeah. Okay, let me go back to the website. And this is the incubator. And the goal is, when it started, it was 9 parcels of land in Somnium Space, and the pieces of land were given to artists for free to like create on. And as the space has grown a lot, there's groups of artists that have come together, and the land is open to them to build on and to create, like their metaverse exhibition space, and or if there's grants that each group would like in order to work on exhibits in real life, we've also done that. So these are just a couple. There's IRL Art in Denver, run by Annie, and she helped Beeple like mint his first piece, and she's just not really gotten acknowledged by him. But regardless of that, she has done like the kind of grassroots work thanklessly, and run a like nonprofit that just focuses on helping artists across the world, specifically in Denver as well, just onboarding them into crypto art. So just those long conversations, like teaching people how to set up a wallet address, where to find a good marketplace, etc. And she has a really amazing team there. They just got a grant from Decentraland, I think, to build like a whole emerging artist kind of exhibition space there.
And
Of course,
hundreds and hundreds of artists she's onboarded into the
like
space.
thousands, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably more than anybody else.
4,000 is what she's told me last time. Yeah. Of course, vertical crypto art. We work with Untitled XYZ to work, to create all the builds, and he is very interested in like architecture as a kind of new art practice in the metaverse. So he is building a kind of architecture firm. Noose is a brainchild of Karan, who's working on the virtual curator project. Crypto Argentina is, I think, Colby, you can tell that story very well because I think you saw them from their first day.
Yeah, Crypto Argentina is just I think the heart and soul of crypto art lives with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you have a collection of artists who like banded together, and had to reach out to a global market through their creativity, because there was like rampant hyperinflation in Argentina. They were faced with a failing government and a failing economy, and this was a bit of the lifeline to the world. And they play a lot with identity and body and form, what it means to live in a society that is hyper changing, and are very surreal and satirical, and very anti-capitalist because they've seen the way that capitalism has failed them in their markets. So I find their art to be just like very cutting, and a pointed commentary on you know like how this market has become so hyper capitalistic when it also can be like empowering to individuals like themselves.
And I have to say also, like, I think their art was the first that I was like, this is incredible. This is a new type of surrealism. I remember like doing a class on like surrealist art, which just almost exclusively focused on Dali in college. And there's so much more to surrealism. And especially when you like, can everyone see this video that I'm playing here? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, when you just look at kind of this is the latest exhibit they did in December, they really are touching on a like new type of surrealism where you're like stuck in between a like mental place and then obviously a digital one. But I think this exhibition they did in Argentina has to be the coolest, based on the footage I've seen, the best digital art exhibition with, NFTs so far. They almost used like screens as sculpture, and I know this group of artists in Buenos Aires is doing something incredible. I really encourage everyone to check them out and look at the work they're doing. They're going across, and they're doing so kind of silently. They're not really the ones to like promote and shout from the rooftops that like we are the best, but they kind of are in terms of exhibition and trippiness, for lack of a better word. But yeah. The Guild is also an amazing group. They are like started with like a Europe New Zealand partnership. Now like South Africa, New Zealand, Europe, and I think Indonesia primarily, where kind of different artists are who are part of this organization. And Colby is also part of the Guild. So yeah, they're a really amazing group, and they continue to work together to create collaborative pieces and like effectively act as like managers for each other because they can help one another kind of navigate the market. So yeah, that is the incubator, and then the final place I think we can jump to is our app. So where would be? Let's go to the community collection. So this is where the kind of 5,600 crypto art pieces are each brought into the museum through like an activation on-chain kind of recording. And over time, this is really going to be a time capsule, a recognition of all the different ways that people have chosen to collect, and the things that speak to them personally, and over time, what that is like. So, for example, this artist, Frenetic Void, who's one of the leaders of Crypto Argentina, he has activated these works into the community collection, which is amazing. I think the more artists that can activate into this community collection, the more we recognize, 5-10 years from now, that their work as collectors and curators also happens over time.
And I'll just add that, like, the community collection is what feeds into the art that we kind of like show and promote through the Twitter page. Obviously there's a lot of collectibles here, but we kind of go through this collection to pull out stuff that we love. So just would encourage all artists to, activate some of their works, and then, like, especially if you're in the VCA resident, just like shoot us a DM that you've done so, and we can share some of those works with our audience.
And this is effectively the communities that activate the most number of artworks. They get recognized on this ladder, and over time, each community is unlocking rewards with our token, our Mocha token. So this is also a great way for like groups. For example, the Bots NFT project. I think Mooncats ended up like jumping all the way up there. I don't know where they are now. Marble Cards is new.
I think you have to perhaps search by, is there all time maybe in the top right?
There we go. Yeah, of all time.
Yeah, results 2021.
And then also kind of the users that yeah. I think the final place that could be interesting is our wiki. So we went through everything, but this is the place that if you would like to get a complete overview, step in, understand at any point, this is the right instruction manual for the museum. Yeah. Is there anything else that we would like to go through?
You want to just show them like the room and floor?
Yes. So these are every single day there is an auction for a floor NFT, which has a number in it that will ultimately feed into like a certain number of slots to go in this room. So I think, let me go to the Notion actually. Yeah, this is going to describe things better. So rooms are ultimately going to be these, there's a floor NFT, and that becomes the basic data point, which will enter a 3D object, which is a room. This 3D object is modified by the smart contract so that 8 NFTs can be displayed in it, for example, in this example. And what we want to do over time is anyone who owns a room effectively is a owner and curator for their part of the museum. They can choose an architect and or a designer to work on their room or to effectively use their model. Right now it is Untitled XYZ, but we're speaking and going to work with a couple other groups so that there's going to be a lot of different designs. And each day, the percentage likelihood of getting a room of a certain number is shown here. So our most common is 16, and our least common is 420. Yeah, this is oh yeah, this video was really, really cool. Oh, sorry. This is not the video that Renee just sent us. But yesterday he just sent us a video of one of the rooms in, I think it was Neo is the world? Neon.
Neo,
I don't remember. Yeah. Here's a prototype tour. I think this is with Anubis.
Welcome to a little bit of a rendering engines and worlds. Like, for example, this same model, if you could plop in Decentraland on a 2x2 plot.
I'm gonna go to
but
this.
I do really like the effect of this column, so I think we're going to test out some more versions of this throughout the build that make it a little bit more popping. And
yeah, I can drop this link in as well for people. I think we went through everything. Oh, the forum. The forum. Wow, we have too many things. Huh? This is our forum. So this is a place where anyone can, any of you, if you would like, there is different kind of categories in which you can enter and discuss what you would like. There's like, for example, a history section. So if anyone wants to deep dive into 2017 crypto art and talk about what it means to them, what they're finding, they can do so. I think
this is brand new.
Yes.
But it will be the basis for kind of the hive mind that we are creating around the virtual curator.
Yes. So Max, our lead writer, for every piece in the community, in the permanent collection, he has written a 1,500 kind of research and 1,500 word research and criticism piece. And this will be the basis for what is fed into the virtual curator. But over time, we really want many people to start responding to each piece. Yeah, I really, these are awesome. I've just read the first, I think so far he's done about 110 essays, and he'll be able to finish into 200 essays by the end of the month, I think end of March. So soon in the next week or so, we're going to open up this forum to everyone to start responding to art pieces and recording and introduce the virtual curator project. Okay, I think I stopped sharing. Yeah?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think Judy has the mic on. I'm sorry. Thank you. So yeah, I think we can start the MAA session. So guys, if you want to ask something to our mentors, go for it.
And I will say it doesn't have to be about anything related to the museum. It can be about crypto art history. It can be very early on what it was like. It can be how the space has changed, where we see it going. Certainly doesn't have to be museum specific.
Hello? Did you guys talk about the church yet?
We haven't.
No.
We're about 2 months into having a physical space in New York. It's a massive church that was built in 1884. And the idea is that this could be really just kind of like an open community space for artists to come visit, for people to just get together to create, to maybe perhaps like get out of their mindset and into something new and do more collaborative work. We just Well, actually, me, Shivani, and McCall are all here now, and we're here with the wonderful team at Dada and a brilliant artist out of Amsterdam called Sam J. Um, so it's really meant to just be kind of like this community center and physical home for the museum where we can continue to hold events and host artists and capture in a physical space all of these ideals that we want to kind of replicate in the metaverse.
And I think, maybe in showing everyone like the website, the museum web version, the VR version, like I think everyone can understand like there is like text, visual, spatial web, and like in-person components to this museum, which means that we're really trying to be a new museum. I think traditionally museums have always focused on a single place, archive work, preservation work, and then display storytelling and like canon-ifying, effectively telling the public what the canon is. And this has been an issue because the Western canon has been the one that has dominated, obviously, because museums effectively got the spoils of colonial pursuits and then built these like massive endowments. So if we are to be a decentralized museum and a one that is democratic and in the spirit of the ideals of cryptocurrency, then we really need to be like widespread, not top down, but like people first, and taking ideas and interactions from the real world and the digital world to form the organization. So this museum is an experiment as much as it is an institution, and I think that's what I enjoy the most about what we are doing. Because we really need to rethink community and start to push forward, what that should look like when we are faced in a market today where a lot of people use the word community and I think don't actually mean it. And I think the church space, the physical space of the museum is a place where people can meet in real life, have these discussions, and take it forward in the way they see best. So I'm really excited to spend time here, and it's been really great spending time with Nicole and Judy and Via as well.
Hi, Shivani. Hi, Colborn. This is Claudia.
Hi.
It's really great to speak with you both again. We met in Montreal, actually, so it's amazing to see you here and learn more about the museum. I just have a question about like where you two think the space is going when it comes to artists who have been actively working here and creating art specifically in the NFT space versus now this like shift I'm seeing of a lot of traditional artists who have been very successful in like the traditional fine art space coming into the NFT space and also seeing success. I wonder like as we kind of move forward, the value of these kind of two bubbles of artists I'm seeing like coming together and like what you feel that looks like.
Wonderful question. Do you want to go first, Shivani?
Go ahead.
I think certainly like a conversation and a dialogue is necessary between these two groups. I think lately we've seen a dilution of culture away from the art into the more speculative and gambling aspects of this market. I think there's two things happening. There is kind of a there's a missing link for kind of the leaders of cryptocurrency, whether it is like the early founders or the early managers and people who have done well to begin to like appreciate native art and culture that is kind of inherent to the blockchain and artists expressing themselves there and identifying with like the philosophical reasons for their starting in crypto and how that's being reflected through the artwork here. And I think there's also like a new monetary and structural system in the distribution of the art that is interesting to traditional artists and collectors. I think all the time, we see the leverage of influence like being turned into sales, although I don't think that's really the point of this. I think it's about like fostering individual connections with collectors around your art. And traditional artists have always kind of hid behind, right, either gallerists or other people to act as that representation agent for them. So in general, I believe that artists who are like of the movement and identify with the values and reflect that through their art and are keen to, express their why and their intent and are native to the space will do better than people who are trying to kind of shoehorn in, perhaps to kind of take advantage of like a hot market.
I think there's like two groups of traditional artists that have done quote unquote well entering the space. The first is your traditional artist that is like conceptual in practice. So for example, like Damien Hirst, that's someone whose like entire clout is based on like memes and like people talking about whether what he's doing is good or bad, and like that is the basis for like the artwork. So I think he was able to enter the NFT space like very easily because a lot of times like NFT drops are the conversation is becoming part of the art around whether or not it is artwork, right? So he captured that. I would say on average, like a traditional digital artist, the kind of second group, the ones that I think have done very well have like pre-existing arrangements with marketplaces or collectors as they enter. I think like Justin Aversano is an example of that. He's just been extremely charismatic and very, very smart about navigating like collector dynamics, like art world collectors and bringing them in as he enters. But your average traditional artist, that like political social capital is not accessible to them, and I think that's why there's like this oversupply of art coming in without a heavy response as they might have wanted. And then the crypto art native group, we want to recognize them, but we don't want to say like that is the only artwork here. I don't believe that at all. I think that artwork is really unique and it needs to be remembered. But at the same time, those crypto artists that have done something for their legacy have reached their hands out to bring new artists in. And that is why, like, we have an artist council with 9 artists who we really believe have done that work to lift up others and speak to like different styles and not feel egotistical about what they've done, but try and build like a legacy beyond dollar signs. So it's to be seen what happens, but I think ultimately traditional artists coming in, they need to learn like the culture in order to succeed. Yeah, I hope that answers well.
Yeah, it does. Thank you both. A follow-up comment I kind of have on that is it's interesting, like from my observation, and maybe this is just like the photography space specifically, there's a lot of platforms that have been coming up that are basically kind of acting like a gallery themselves by onboarding artists that are seen as successful within the contemporary photography space and kind of hand-holding them into minting their own work, which I don't think there's a problem with that. But it's also interesting kind of like contrasting that with like the ethos of the crypto art space, which is like, just come in here and like do what you want to do and share your work with friends, and kind of a more like relaxed and not as like gated environment. I don't know. It's interesting seeing that dynamic, and I'm wondering what that'll look like in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, the crypto art world has replicated the traditional one, at least today. And what we want to do at the museum is like really push back against that. It's happened really quickly and quote like just almost in like a couple months, I feel like.
I'm gonna add like it's much more difficult to take like a long-term approach and understand where the space is going than to just like shoehorn in pre-existing ideology and replicate a model that you know. And I think long-term, like these values and philosophies that exist at the core of crypto art will win out. There will be some like short-term profiteering, but like systemic and systematic change is going to take time as we educate people to why. So I really encourage artists to like get super grounded in their why, why their art is meant for this medium, what it is proving, whether it is like authenticity, provenance, on-chain royalties. There's a million different reasons why I think it's better, like preservation, storage, yeah, and make sure that you have that understanding of why, to ground your intent and figure out where you want to go and reflect those values over the long term.
And I totally agree with that, and I'll add that like people need to realize that the art world itself, the traditional art world, it is like dying. It is actively dying. Like it is not thriving, and like somehow this thing that we need to like reach. A lot of the art world is living off of like inheritance money and money from like 2 centuries of like oil barons and like old wealth, and that money is still very powerful, but it is not innovating and it is not figuring out how to work for the future. So that is why you're seeing just a huge pivot of like Sotheby's and Christie's into crypto art, and I think I would really push every artist to think about like the art world that they want to create for the rest of their career and try and create that art world here. And there's no need to look up to the past. Yeah.
Hi, thank you so much for this talk. I'm Anna, and I'm a poet, and I was wondering if you had any opinions on literary and poetry NFTs, and if, by virtue of sort of the decentralized ethos of the community, art forms that haven't had a seat really at the art table in the past might be able to now.
I think actually, Judy, it would be amazing if you wanted to step in, because I know we just spoke about your work with like literature and NFTs. If you're listening.
I'll just say that, and I'm familiar with your work. Your work is absolutely incredible, and all that you do to advance this. Go ahead, Judy.
I second that emotion. Thank you so much, Shivani. Well, yeah, it's really exciting. Actually, it's not necessarily a new field, because there's some, and as you know, there are some people who have practicing this for a while. Like there was something called Celarius. That was kind of like a collaborative graphic novel that people were writing, but I think that there's now like more platforms that are doing it. Myself, I am publishing my first novel in Spanish as an NFT coming out very soon, and it's gonna be the piece that is going to launch the platform, which is headed by Sparrow Reed, which is an artist that you may know. That is a DAO and like this platform that is going to be devoted to NFTs that have to do with art, but also literature and publishing literature as NFTs, whether they're poems or they're short stories or they're novels. And in fact, because of the, I think, amazing and promising opportunity that NFTs give to literature, my publisher and I are collaborating in doing a series of literary NFTs with art by Dada artists that I'm curating. So what is really super cool is that it's a medium that allows for so much flexibility, so much creative flexibility in terms of not only like finding different formats, but also collaborating with other digital media like music or like spoken word, or like, some people are doing content that are unlocking as they go. Some people are creating DAOs where people collaborate in creating narratives. So it's really an exciting moment, and I think that there's going to be more both mainstream and more experimental stuff going in that direction.
Thank you both. And Colborn, you just really made my day, my weekend, like the month. I'm so honored. Thank you so much for your words. I'm like really, really moved. And thank you, Judy.
Just love to all that you do. I'd say there's a wonderful artist, maybe if you're unfamiliar, who has like he's doing incredible poetry. His name is Brandon Walsh, and I would just suggest maybe you connect with him. That's it.
Perfect. I will look him up. I'm not familiar with his work, so thank you.
Hi, Shivani. Hi, Colborn. I missed the first 30 or so minutes of this, so this question might already be answered. But did you guys get into your individual like purposes and reasons as of why you started the museum and sort of how it came to be?
I can trace that history of like the very beginning. I was involved very early in Ethereum, and what I saw with Ethereum coming from like a career and finance and social impact was basically I kept running into brick walls with the traditional system. There was no ability to effectuate like global change in the current financial system. It felt like the goal of government and capital was just to protect existing capital and power structures. Ethereum, in my mind, was the first chance where we got to see really a fundraising and value transfer mechanism that existed outside of Silicon Valley, and was kind of benefiting global creativity. That obviously like ran its course in the 2017 bubble and led to hyper financialization. At the time, I was involved kind of with like virtual world projects, some early experiments with like additional with Codex, with Mecenas. So always kind of recognizing that there was a use case for blockchain and art. But as we all know, the traditional art world is probably one of the most cemented power structures and is going to be the slowest to change. In January of 2020, I was introduced to Super Rare as a potential equity investment. Was looking at the art there and just kind of saw in a time of global crisis with coronavirus and everybody being indoors, a really powerful, vibrant expression being brought through by blockchain. And just in talking to the artists and recognizing their values, a lot of the collectors at that time were doing nothing with the works. So kind of the marriage of virtual lands and this expression and, being a kind of like third-party advocate for a lot of what these artists were bringing forward and expressing about what they wanted to see was like the philosophical underpinnings of the museum.
I, from like a very young age, was interested in medicine and becoming a like doctor, but then also was just utterly fascinated by art history. So I ended up pursuing both in school. I had a upbringing that I'm like very blessed to have had where I traveled a lot and I got to live in a couple different countries. And in working in those different places, there was a lot of similarities that I saw where incentive structures themselves were really fundamentally flawed in the way that kind of Colborn just described. And it was that like basic fabric of society, like your incentive to try and do something with your life that was frustrating me. And when I started learning about crypto and like, just from like friends reading, it was so far removed from my life because I was just deep in like research, like wet lab work, and I was on the path to like go into plastic surgery, like reconstructive plastic surgery with like burn victims. Like that's what I was like attracted to. And it was really difficult looking at the healthcare system every day in the US and realizing that there was like kids paying $1 million for surgeries that were now going to like bankrupt their families, and it was not the kids' fault, right? And it was just a lot of suffering. So I was like, how do I try and fix or attempt with my like years on Earth to do something? And when I met Colborn and Pablo in like August of 2020, just the things that they were saying were interesting to me, way more interesting to me than anything else I was encountering in real life. But I think at that point in time, in like late 2020, the museum was a project, and it was moving towards the vision that Colburn had in the beginning, but it wasn't materializing. And effectively, the museum was becoming a like very, very powerful collection of art, but in practice, it wasn't doing the work to like be a museum. So I think over time, us working together and also getting to know Renee, who is a like just also a like pure hardcore, won't compromise his morals, also to being a genius developer. Coming together, I think, is where the museum became a decentralized, focused project, a democratic one, and ultimately everything that we are able to show you guys online today. So, yeah, I hope that answers a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I also have another question. When it comes to putting works into the museum, do they have to be like fresh mints that you mint into the museum, or are they like transferable from like marketplaces, or like if someone has already bought your work?
Like the community collection?
Yeah.
Or yeah, they don't have to be fresh mints.
Okay, cool.
And actually, as of 2 days ago, you can actually aggregate multiple addresses into your single like member profile. So it can go as far back if needed.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, we really aim to be at this stage marketplace agnostic, given obviously the tremendous amount of art that is being created and minted on Tezos. We are looking to become chain agnostic as well. It's just a whole different developer skill set that is required, and doesn't at this stage have like the metaverse applications that we need when showcasing and demonstrating artwork that is minted there.
Hello, Colborn. Hello, Shivani. Thank you very much for this class. I really enjoyed your presentation about Museum of Crypto Art, and it's a new thing still for me, and I need to get into it and study some things for sure. But I have a question about the current thing that happened um, on OpenSea Marketplace. I think you most probably know that some of the very important one crypto art got this issue of closing their accounts and by OpenSea and MetaMask. I mean, uh, I'm still stunned by this. That how is this possible, really? But currently, OpenSea is a um, centralized platform, and it can control what people put on Ethereum blockchain. And you can, I have seen that some very important people in the community that got affected by this. What do you think will be the future in the community where we have a decentralized, when you say marketplace, it becomes kind of centralized again. And but I think we still have this capitalist attitude in the space, and this kind of way that they close their people's accounts is not really appropriate, in this community. I don't think it's appropriate at all. And what do you think will be the future of these platforms and marketplaces? And how do you think they can be decentralized? And what is the future of them? What can we do to make them more decentralized and build more decentralized structures for the platforms and marketplaces?
I love this question. So thank you for bringing it forward, because crypto art was always for the rebels, right? And it was always kind of like for the pirates, and it was born of this idea of self-sovereignty. I agree with you a lot. I think it's totally criminal, but you have to recognize that the the forces that crypto art threatens and the forces of control that cryptocurrency threatens are some of the most powerful in the world. And, OpenSea has taken on hundreds of $1 million of venture capital, and they are being like forced to comply with these forces. The beauty of this, however, and where I think this space is going, is that artists should be empowered to run their own contracts and run their own marketplaces, probably through a self-hosted website. There really is no way to stop that. I think, and I know that individuals can always move faster than these large institutions and bodies that currently kind of govern and control the world. So I would encourage everybody as much as possible to take all of the power into their own hands, and bring their artwork direct to potential collectors without the need of an interface like OpenSea, without the need for any sort of pre-existing marketplace.
Thank you very much for your response. I really appreciate it. But I currently actually tried manifold export going to deploy my own contract. But the thing is that when you're going to actually represent the artwork, release the artwork, you need to actually do it on a platform. I don't know if it can be done on chain with a different way, but right now there is this really big trouble of uncertainty of uh, what can be done here. That can be decentralized, and as well as we can it's reliable. We can be we can be rely on it.
I will say,
Yeah.
I would just say, like, in our library, there was a leader of this in Brazil. His name is, and I apologize, my cats are fighting. But there was a leader of this in Brazil. His name is Nino Artero. In our library, there is a set of instructions that he developed in 2020 for artists to basically implement WordPress plugins that would be able to display their art on their own website and be able to sell it. He's been doing this since 2020, and I think the ethos here is like open source tools for artists to have this sort of self-empowerment. um, OpenSea was never a marketplace. It was always just a data aggregation platform, right? So all it's doing is just pulling every NFT that's minted on the Ethereum blockchain and providing a user experience and a visualization of that. So, IPFS is sufficiently decentralized. That's where the artwork, generally is stored. And Ethereum is efficiently decentralized. Now, how you go about building your own user interface for people to interact with that is a question for artists. And I think Manifold is also like an exceptionally powerful tool in that skill set that allows you to manage and build very easily your own custom smart contract.
I'll just add, like, one of my recent but like close friends over the last 2 years is this guy who, when he was like, I think 15, in a small town in Montana, he started a Bitcoin mining operation. And this is like 2015, yeah. And today he like effectively has so obviously this is someone whose like entire life has been forged and like created through crypto. At least their participation in society and like economically. And so he like doesn't use Facebook, Apple, Google. He has never used OpenSea. Like to his core principle is entirely anti-centralized. And there are tools he still finds, and I would say that his life like is difficult because he doesn't use the one-click approach at all. In fact, he has to click like probably 5 times more than any of us do to get where he wants to go and buy things he wants to buy. But he's finding ways to build an NFT collection, and he stores it on Arweave. There are tools. I think Manifold is like amazing as well. There's tools that exist, and they've been created by people who like decentralization is in their blood. So I really believe there is a way forward, and I know it's very disheartening to see like people from different regions getting pushed out, but there are people here who will continue to build with that principle. So I would say keep going and keep searching.
Thank you very much for your responses. I really appreciate it. Your words actually give me so much hope, and I really appreciate the fact that you exist. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question. It sort of matters to artist independence, but from another sort of opposing like aspect. And like Colburn, we had talked about this only like a little bit in DMs, but like how do you guys feel about like the space randomly shifting, for like the appeal and the appeasement of, pretty much like House Medici all over again? And it's like because to me it seems like sort of going in exact opposite of what artists have been trying to do, and it's like I'm just curious about you guys' view on like what's happening in the space, because to me it's very weird that for the sake of like something like recognition or making it into like the Medici collection, we're about to, or some people are willingly gonna recreate all the problems that we had in the past, art history wise. And I was just curious about your thoughts.
Go ahead, Shivani, if you want.
Yes, I think, yes, so like with the Medici family, right, which is like they were like quote unquote popes, and then they used the money they amassed through the Catholic Church to build out the entire patronage for the Renaissance as we know it today. They were the patrons for a like entirely world-shifting art movement. And the way that they became patrons is kind of dirty. And I have to say that similarly, I think a lot of the like whales in this space, they have made their money not like, in amoral or like immoral ways, but they have gamed the systems that exist today to build wealth. And that has just continued throughout human history. I think it will continue, where people find ways to build intense amounts of capital. As long as we have a capitalistic system, they find ways to build capital by like finding the places where you can extract and build power. And to my core, like I don't like that, but I also realize like I don't have any other system in which to work with. So if we are to work within this system, I think we have to like continue to work with patrons and also push them to think about like who they are supporting. So when Colborn is talking about crypto rich people needing to support crypto artists, I think that's the way we change this. And if these people are able to see and understand the movement and push it forward from within the crypto community, that's much stronger than like trad art coming in and like taking from. So it's hard for me to be the most idealistic, like crazy, we're going to change the world like vibe. But I do want to say like, yes, we can, and we are changing the world by like sticking to our guts and like realizing that there is a way to be very smart and shrewd with like how we like work with collectors or as artists, what together we can do. Yeah, I hope that, I know that's not like the cherry on top answer, but it's honestly how I see it.
I will just add to that there is a performative aspect that some people indulge in that makes me a bit nauseous, right? It is like art, in my opinion, is more valuable than money. We should be placing the art and the artist on the highest pedestal. And to see like there was always a battle, especially in the beginning. All the problems at the beginning only become like further amplified of like the ego of a collector and like the money taking precedent over like the art and the artwork and that discussion, and kind of subjugating the artist into a like you must perform for the collector to be acknowledged. I think that's ridiculous. I think like the at the end of the day, it's the role that you choose to play and how you choose to treat yourself. Um, so I would just encourage everybody to like present their art, to put it forward, to do it, thoughtfully and respectfully, because the conversations that we're having are public and people see the way that you engage with others and how you are like positioning and valuing yourself and how that's reflected in the art that you create.
I think also, Anubis, there's a big difference between a patron and a like investor. And in this NFT space, like that becomes very clear over time because you see like who's here to invest. And I'm not saying they're bad people. I actually think they like have good intentions, but ultimately the outcome they want is a return on the investment. And that's what any normal person would like. But the issue is that they are completely missing art, and instead they are focusing on like saying the words that make it sound like they're interested in art. And that is where you have just like disinterested, unauthentic conversations about art, and that's what we don't want to do. And with like the Medici family, right, they effectively, with like Michelangelo for example, they just gave him a like blank check, and he was like in residence in their space for like 20 years, right? And like that's where his art came from that like place, and that is patronage. But again, like the reason they were able to give that patronage is because they accumulated power in a very like sneaky, shrewd way. So there's nothing here that's going to be 100% clean. And I really don't like to say that yes, we can have conversations about art and art alone and something's going to save us all. Like we all need to understand that like yes, focus on the art, but also focus on what you are doing to bring people together and what you are doing to create like the conditions that will give you an entire lifetime of being an artist. So it's a balance, and I think also just differentiating the collector from the investor, from the trader, from the patron is going to take time, but it becomes clear. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I was only just asking because I found it like it was like history recreating itself in like the weirdest way, and just witnessing it online. It was just like it was as a kid who grew up learning about the Medicis in school and like having them be so far removed from me, and then to share the same space with them, and then knowing the history, it's like the weirdest thing to deal with. And that's why I was asking. Thank you, guys.
I know, especially when I see like the Cosmo Medici like stuff, I'm like, dude, do you like know like the Catholic Church stuff with like abusing like young men? Like, I don't know if there's like a recognition of some of these like quote legacy names, but yeah.
We really need to have reactions on Discord. I was like throwing up 100s. I wish I was throwing up 100s this whole time.
Yeah, I just typed 100 in the chat. Whatever, who cares? I think we have time for one last question, guys. Okay. So I was wondering, I wanted to ask something. I wanted to know why did you pick the term museum? And I know because sometimes when we, of course, people outside of the space, NFT space, they think about crypto art. They try to, to split it from the institution. So why did you pick the term museum besides other kind of terms? And I was just curious about it.
Yeah, it's very simple. A museum is a known mental model that attributes value and history to artwork, right? So at a time when everybody was just kind of sending artworks into cold storage wallets, there was no like institution that was native to the space that was kind of giving this attribution and recognition to these artists. So it was really just, a simple breadcrumb to get people to understand where we were going, to kind of recognize the history, to recognize that this was an independent art movement, and to begin to kind of attribute, value and recognition to what was being created.
And I think today it's important because we want to differentiate from a gallery. And especially in like early 2021, when I think like that structure actually came to be, it was really important to like stick to the words Museum of Crypto Art.
And there are, of course, like a lot, like the Museum of NFT Art in Seattle is a gallery. I mean, there's like a lot of people that are doing like a bit of disservice to this word. So I think it's kind of us to kind of like hold that foundational bedrock for what it means to be a NFT native museum and a true museum.
It's interesting because even when you think about museums in the real world, like the more I like do and work and lead this project, I'm like, wow, like everything is just a scam, you know? Like when it comes to like museums being like fair, neutral places in the real world, like I think they need to decentralize for that to actually happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, so I think we don't have any other question. Yeah. So well, our time is over anyway. So thank you so much, Shivani and Colborn. This was a great session, and also thank you guys for your questions. They were amazing, and thank you so much again, and have a good one.
Thank you
all
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank you.
All the
Thanks,
best for
guys.
vertical
Thank
crypto
you.
art
Thanks
in
so
this
much. Bye.
residency.
Thank you
You're
as
all
well.
amazing. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.